And there's endless examples of this in our life. And there's three major ones I wanted to focus on. One is time. What resources do we have what kind of supply do we have when it comes to time? 24 hours a day, 168 hours a week. And what kind of demand do we have of those 168 hours? Most of us think our demand is greater, and so we're stressful. Well, we'll soon understand that our demand is not greater than 168 hours, and hopefully our stress will be alleviated. This is a huge subject, so tomorrow morning we're going to focus a full discourse just on time management. Then another source of stress is money. What is our resources when it comes to money? Either our income, our line of credit, our allowance, whatever it is. What is our demand? Definitely for Americans, much more than that. And we'll talk about that more. And the most tragic, the most devastating, when it comes to people. People, as a resource, are who they are. And what is our demand? Why isn't he like me? Why doesn't she change? This causes us stress. If we accepted people, what stress would there be? So I'm going to focus more on this as we move forward. It's very important for us to note that the mismatch between supply and demand when it comes to our daily lives is a serious matter, which creates grave consequences. Another cousin of mine, he imports and exports electronics. They have a person who issues bills. Recently, they installed a new software system to make the whole billing process quicker. One day, and their busiest time is the week before Christmas, naturally. Monday, everything's fine. Tuesday, everything's fine. Wednesday, she doesn't show up for work. They call to find out where she is. She's in bed. It's almost like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Sounds like my sister, right? What's wrong? Why aren't you at work? I couldn't take it anymore. This billing system was causing me too much stress. Again, it's because her resources were X. The demand on her was Y. It wasn't mismatched. There was a mismatch. She still hasn't returned to work. This is the busiest time of the year for them. Now everyone else has to pick up the slack because of this lack of understanding of stress. Exams or athletic events where there's too much stress and people break down. Weddings, right? Where people leave weddings. There's a lot of tragedy that comes out from stress. So I'm glad that we're giving it its due importance and trying to understand and alleviate stress. Okay. So we've understood that stress is a negative thought. We've understood that stress is when supply and demand are mismatched. We've understood that we suffer from stress. Yesterday I mentioned that awareness is the first step towards any solution. We now have that awareness. But will we end our stress with just awareness? No. We actually have to consciously live it. So I said that we're going to talk about time specifically tomorrow. So right now we're going to focus on money. And money is like time. And money is a dilemma that even many of you faced coming here. $200 flight, $100 registration. Many of you are students. Can't afford it. Do I come? Do I not come? So it's a very relevant subject. Now I mentioned that in every experience, there's only 2 factors that are available to us. What are those 2 factors? That's the choices we have, but we only have 2 factors available to us. Supply and demand. Okay. So let's focus on the demand first. If I have $30,000, again, that's my income, what is the maximum that I could spend if my budget is 30,000. 30,000, right? So that's it. There's nothing else that we can talk about when it comes to resources. I can only spend whatever I have. And if I want to spend more than 30,000, what do I have to do? I have to increase my resources. Either I have to get a better job, I have to work more, I have to get a loan, I have to ask for money, I have to beg for money, I have to steal money. Whatever it is. But it's not complicated. These are my resources. Nothing else. What about the demand? So the resources tends to be fixed. What about the demand? Our demand on those resources. And this is why I mentioned that America had a problem with this, is that the demand always exceeded the resources. That's why the banks are leveraged so much when it comes to debt. Their debt ratio is so significant versus other banks in the world, particularly Canadian banks, where our debt ratio is not so high. But it's changing now. Yesterday in the airport I was reading that Americans are no longer spending like they used to spend. They're becoming wiser about not spending. But for those people who still are in that situation, where their demand has exceeded their resources, what's happening? Banks calling their loans, the repo men and repo women are coming. How do they feel? Naturally, they're stressed about it. For you and I, if we're in med school or we're working or we're in university, we only have so much money. And when we want to do more with that money, naturally there's going to be a source of stress. If we're students, it's not for us, it's for our parents. But what else is going to happen? Naturally there's going to be stress. There's no other option, there's no other choice. It's not complicated. It's actually quite simple to reconcile supply and demand. And a good way to make this happen is to shift our life away from quantity and to focus on quality. If you're going to go out, go hard or go home. Right? Rather than going out all the time, when you do go out, like I said, go out far. Same goes with vacation. Rather than going on vacation every 2 months and making a road trip wherever, why not save the money and go to Europe, go to Southeast Asia, go to India? Why not save enough money and invest it in coming to these CHYK camps? We have 4 or 5 a year, at least in 2010 we do. Focus on the quality, not the quantity. That will help us reconcile the difference between supply and demand. There's not much more to it. Whatever stage in life we're in, we just have to keep these 2 factors in mind. Either I can increase my resources, or I can reduce my demand. Or if I increase my resources, I can increase my demand. In Mississauga, our discussions on Monday nights on Tataboda, there's a girl there who works for Cadbury. She's a salesperson for Cadbury. And she shared a very beautiful definition of the recycling symbol. What does the recycling symbol mean? Reduce, recycle. The symbol that she said she saw was need less, work less, live more. Need less, work less, live more. Right now, and when I say this word need, change it with demand. Because our demands are so great, then our work, which really is our resource, has to be great too. And then that living doesn't happen. Need less, work less, live more. The point of this symbol is that happiness is in living. Happiness is actually in being alive, is within.